Calgary Crowfoot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And although this is not my first intervention in this Parliament, this is the first opportunity I've had to take a moment and thank the voters of Calgary Crowfoot. Riding name change, I'm getting used to that. Many of the riding names have changed, but yes, it's Calgary Crowfoot now, and I thank the voters of Calgary Crowfoot for sending me to this place for the fourth time in 9.5 years. I want to thank my opponents in the election for putting their names forward without choice and without options for people to vote for. There is no democracy, so I thank all participants in this election. I would like to thank the volunteers in Calgary Crowfoot, an amazing group of volunteers that helped us get out to 25,000 odd doors, put up thousands of signs, and make the argument to the voters for change, for a change of government. I'd like to thank, of course, also my loving family, my wife Kim, my daughters Katie, Jessica, and Megan, my mom Marnie Kelly, and my father Dwayne Kelly passed away sadly only a few months before the election. I'd like to congratulate all members of Parliament on their election, in particular the new MPs. There are many new MPs in this Parliament, so I look forward to meeting and getting to know who everybody is. I do congratulate the new cabinet and the new Prime Minister, and they have tremendous work to do. It's important to me as a Canadian and to the people that sent me here that Canada prospers and that Canada does well, and that we have competent, prudent, and proper public administration and stewardship of public resources. So I wish the government the best in doing so. But I also say, Mr. Speaker, that I am part of a government in waiting, and we are ready to step up, Mr. Speaker, and form a government should this government fall. And we will demand accountability, and we will demand competence and execution. And we will be here to scrutinize their laws that they propose, as well as the administration of their government in general. That is what we are here to do. That is what all members of Parliament, actually, you don't even need to be in the opposition benches, Mr. Speaker. I challenge the backbenches on the government side to do their jobs as legislators and demand accountability from the government of their own party as well. That is their job. It is their job not just to cheerlead for the front bench. So I hope that they will take seriously their role in holding government to account, as parliamentarians should. So here we are, Mr. Speaker. We are today in June of 2025, where we have the same government that's been in power for 9.5 years, that added $500 billion to the national debt, have brought in a structural deficit. They have no plan for a balanced budget in sight. We are enduring a housing crisis, wherein mortgage payments and rent have more than doubled on their watch, and we have seen a sense of hopelessness creep into younger people who believe that they will never have a path to home ownership other than through inheritance or through the sharing of real estate equity from their family. We have crime in every category that has gone up. We have a drug overdose crisis. And we have our military, the most basic core function of government is national security and protecting Canadians. And we have tanks that are in extremely short supply and falling apart. We have ships rusting out, jets wearing out, recruitment, retention, and housing in crisis, gaps in domain awareness in the Arctic, a RadarSat system that is going to reach its end of life without a replacement. We have procurement in a state of disaster. We can't even procure and build and supply basics like artillery shells. We've had the recently retired Chief of Defense Staff say that there has been no more acute need for military preparedness since the end of the Second World War, and we're not there. we have the threat of Trump and the tariffs and all that his administration has said and may do to deal with. We have, but perhaps the most important statistic that I can point to is the per capita GDP in Canada. Over the last 10 years, its growth was the lowest in the OECD. In fact, it wasn't growth at all. Canadians are no better off than they were 10 years ago. This is a lost Liberal decade. So where were we 10 years ago, Mr. Speaker? Well, this government came to power and inherited a balanced budget, affordable homes that working people could buy, a Northern Gateway pipeline that was conditionally approved, a Trans Mountain pipeline that was going to be built with private money, not with the taxpayers. We had the Energy East project that was ready to be proposed. We had the F-35 was ready for contract and ready to be procured. Crime was at the lowest on record. This is the Canada that this government came into power, Mr. Speaker, and this is where they've taken us over the last 10 years. And it's not something that just randomly happened. There were concrete actions of this government all the way along that brought us here. They have brought in the culture of no. They brought in new regulation and laws like Bill C-69 and C-48 that make it impossible to get energy infrastructure projects built. That was by design. You know, this wasn't even just a mistake on the part of the government. And furthermore, there is just no end in sight, Mr. Speaker. They have brought in, and we have seen what creeping in, a culture of corporate welfare where connected insiders benefit, and from where liberal insiders benefit. We have seen over that time period they canceled the F-35. They came in and said, we're not going to procure this at all. We're going to have a separate procurement process, and dithered and wasted time while our need for this aircraft carried on. We would already have the F-35 if they had just simply procured it when they took office. So, Mr. Speaker, these are the things that have happened over the last 10 years. So the speech from the throne contains no concrete plan. There is no budget which would signal a plan or even tell Canadians and be honest about where we are financially, what our fiscal plan is, what the deficit will be. But they have said some things that are encouraging to many. They have taken many ideas from the Conservative benches and from the Conservative campaign. And, Mr. Speaker, you put a tax cut in front of me, I'll vote for it. You put if you propose to eliminate a regulation that is destroying the job opportunities in my riding, I will support it. But what I won't support is a speech from the throne that gives vague promise without any type of a clear roadmap, and then while simultaneously tabling a set of estimates that show ballooning public expenditure, ballooning expenditure for consultants of all things, Mr. Speaker, all while they've allowed the public service to also grow enormously during their time while service to Canadians declines. So in this new Parliament, we wish to, copying our ideas is, I guess, the most sincere form of flattery, which we'd be prepared to accept as Conservatives. But, Mr. Speaker, this government is not a new government. It has a different Prime Minister. It has the same people in the front benches that for the last 10 years have criticized Conservatives. I can't even, Mr. Speaker, if you look at Hansard, some of the things that the members of the front benches have said to me and other members when we propose important ideas like axing the tax, something they were all too quick to adopt in the election. So, Mr. Speaker, I have doubts about the ability of this government with the same group of people in the front benches to execute on improving life for Canadians.
Comments. Question and commentaire. The honourable member for Kings Hants.
Speaker, I'd like to thank the honourable member for his remarks, and certainly I would share the desire to want to focus on regulatory reform. I'd like to hear more from all members on this side of the House in terms of some of those pieces. We've heard a lot about the oil and gas sector, and the government is signaling its desire to want to drive and build big natural energy projects across the country, whether it's conventional oil and gas or it is renewable in different types of forms. But I want to bring the House back to some air of reality, because perhaps the honourable member didn't like some of the way in which the government did speak about the oil and gas sector, but it is important to recognise that the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers and Reuters both talk about the fact that oil and gas production actually increased over the last 10 years. I will remind the honourable member that it was this government that actually built a pipeline to Tidewater. Under Harper, there was no pipeline built. But can we bring this back? Will the member at least recognise that there has been an increase in oil and gas production in this country in the last 10 years? It's important to at least recognise facts and not just conjecture here in this House.
The honourable member for Calgary Crowfoot.
Well, it's true, thankfully, that over 9.5 years wasn't long enough for them to actually completely kill the industry. And we're thankful for that. But I want to pick, there are a number of points that this member brought up. He brought up TMX, and it still astounds me the credit that they want to seek for driving private capital out of the oil and gas business. They had to take over and nationalize a project. This project would have been built sooner and at no risk to the taxpayer. So when they chased out all of the private proponents for pipelines, yes, they built one. They killed, even before they did that though, they killed the Northern Gateway. The Northern Gateway was approved. And it was almost literally the first act of this government when it came to power. And now they say after 10 years they want to get big projects built. There's a credibility gap here, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Mirabel. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to congratulate my colleague on his re-election. Mr. Speaker, the reason we need legislation to protect supply management is that it shouldn't be the federal government which should decide what is on the table during negotiations. In fact, it seems like it's maybe the Americans who are making these decisions, and things seem to have changed a lot, as we heard earlier. Earlier, the Liberals said this wouldn't be on the tables. Then later, we heard them say they would resist when it was on the table. And of course, the last few times that they said they would resist, they actually ended up changing their mind, and we sold off parts of the market. So, as the member for Compton Stances, who is apparently not going to support our bill, said, well, that's concerning, but will my Conservative colleague commit to supporting legislation to protect supply management so that our negotiators can't sell it off?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I didn't comment on this in my remarks, and I was hoping for questions and comments that were related to the speech that I made, but we will see what is proposed, and we will examine legislation as it's proposed.
Comments. The member for New Tecumseth Gwillimbury.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleague for his speech. He knows that I've talked about, and you just alluded to the carbon tax. And I've spoke many times about the rural top-up that my residents in my riding were denied. And the fact of the matter is now there's a very concerning issue that's come up. Now I have the CRA actually coming after constituents that have mistakenly received the rural top-up that they actually thought they were entitled to. We had government-approved software, U-File, that actually selected people for the rural top-up based on the postal code, because the 0 in the postal code meant that they were rural. And these people didn't even select it. Now we've got 613 numbers coming in at these people. I just wonder if you can talk about the effects of the carbon tax. Still lingering for us.
Member for Calgary Crowfoot.
Well, it certainly would have been better to have not had a carbon tax at all, industrial or consumer, and that we wouldn't have had all of this series of bureaucratic difficulty that the member mentions. And to the member, from roughly, I think, 2017 to 2019, I was the shadow minister for the CRA, and I would hear every day then just staggering examples of the challenges that Canadians face in dealing with that agency, often made more complicated and made more difficult by by this government and the general complication of our tax system.
Resuming debate. Please